Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for staying throughout the last panel for the day and putting off some of the very tempting activities outside of this room. So you're joining us for Youth Pathways to Economic Self-Sufficiency through education, post-secondary options, and entrepreneurship. At OIC of South Florida, we offer multiple positive youth development programs in Broward and Dade counties, and we do that through the All A's model of awareness, access, action, and achievement. With that in mind, my goal today is to have a meaningful and interactive discussion first from this esteemed panel, and then through question and answering session. Just as the panels before us, we really want your audience involvement, so put your questions in the guidebook app and we'll get started. I'm now going to introduce the panelists. To my right is Christina Duncan. As of yesterday, she is a senior at Dillard High School and OIC's Youth Leadership Council Vice President. Christina was an OIC intern this past summer with the Museum of Discovery and Science. She enjoys her school's vocal program and loves working to empower youth. To her right is Paulette Fox, CEO of OIC of New Britain, Connecticut. She is a champion fighting a long battle, I won't say how long, you can say that, to improve the lives, education, work environment, and the future of youth and young adults. Ms. Fox wanted me to say that that's part of God's plan for her, and I do believe that. To her right is Ms. Lariana Stoner, a current senior in high school here in Broward County, the 2022 Youth Leadership Council President, and most importantly, a youth in her community here in South Florida. And don't be surprised if she spontaneously breaks out into a Michael Jackson song and dance. To her right is Ms. Carrie Ann Royce, the proud president and CEO of the YWCA of South Florida, where the mission is to eliminate racism and empower women. The YWCA believes that the economic equity is the absolute cornerstone of social justice. And to her right is Mr. Nivek Herard, a 2021 graduate of Dillard High School here in Broward County. Nivek was an OIC Youth Leadership Council officer, and since taking an OIC videography class, Nivek has been for 2 years part of our summer internship program, and he is now employed by OIC of South Florida on our communications and marketing team. In fact, these amazing animated graphics that you're seeing, he did that. Yeah. And to Nivek's right is Nathan Burrell, the managing broker of Randolph and Main Realty Group, managing partner of Randolph and Main Capital, and founder of Helping Our Nation's Empowering Youth Ventures, or Honey Ventures. It's an international nonprofit organization created to promote economic development and entrepreneurship. And Mr. Burrell works with many of OIC's programs working with youth on entrepreneurship skills and business plans. So let's jump right in. As we've talked today, the COVID pandemic has challenged everyone, but perhaps none more so than children and youth, particularly Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So what are the major challenges facing youth today, and are there new challenges as a result of COVID? Would anyone like to start?
I'll take that question.
Thank you.
That was a great question, by the way, Ms. Shannon. So my response to your question is that one of the challenges that youth face, even to this day, even before the pandemic, was emotional support. There has not been a support system for any age group of a child that they could rely on to reach the goals that they want to achieve. And what made me realize that was my own personal experience during COVID-19. While I was just home, and I was just in my room, and fun fact, I'm an only child, I never really had the support of my own family members of, oh, you got this, Larry, you can do whatever you want to do, don't be stressed out. And ever since the pandemic, when I was closed off from my friends, I was just alone. And I never had that strong emotional support of family and friends around me to keep me going or have that motivation to be where I am today right now. So I think that's the reason there is a lot of stress and depression within youth is without that emotional support.
Thank you.
So first of all, can I just ask to give it up to our esteemed
Yes,
panel of
absolutely.
young people who are, I mean, I had to bring notes to keep up with these young people. They are on point. I had to show up right. So thank you for that. To add to that, what we've seen, you know, your experience illuminates what we think a lot of young people went through. Not only were they on their own navigating school online, isolation, but they were, in many cases, witnessing their families making tough decisions as they lost jobs, pivoted, got laid off, or had to work extra hours because mom is a nurse or a caretaker, not there taking care of other siblings during that time, maybe the grandparent in the household. There are these layers of new situations that they had to navigate, and I think also we would be remiss not to recognize the social justice movement that happened during this time. Young people have always been the leaders of social justice movements. We were, when we were young and not ageist, right? And to recognize the visibility and the onslaught of media that they lived through during a time when they were also figuring out what they stood for and choosing where they put their talents and what talents would look like. I think there was just a multiplicity of challenges and new experiences that came through COVID that I heard left them like, I don't want to go through what my parents did. I need to be able to have options, and I need to put my talents to work for employers or non-employers, maybe myself, who believe what I believe. So I think that was an added layer for your generation.
I like to make a little comment. And I'm from Connecticut, and it's not cold up there. We just had a heat wave for 3 weeks. But one of the things that we noticed that the COVID did and the murder of George Floyd is it jacked our kids up. Not only did it jack our kids up, it also messed with the parents, because this was a reality. And I know it happens in Florida because it happens every day in Connecticut where somebody is stopped because of the color of their skin, brown and black. And I think what happened to a lot of our youth is that the system assumed that everybody could use the computer. You put them on Google Classroom, and the parent would be there to escort you through your classes. Didn't happen. Most of the parents I work with, they work in retail or they work in the hospitals. And their hours were not conducive to when the school had Google Classroom. So a lot of our youth, because of their self-sufficiency, didn't tune in. They tuned out. And even though every youth got a Chromebook and computer, some of our kids sold them at the local stores and stuff because of the dynamics of what they were dealing with. Most of the brown and black youth that we deal with already struggle with mental health and trauma in their communities. Fire sirens, police sirens, all the time going off. Now you asking me to deal with COVID, to wear a mask, and all of you know wearing that mask is stressful enough on your mental health. Now you have to live in a small apartment with other siblings. I'm surprised that most of them didn't go crazy. I'll leave that at that for now for you to think about.
Sorry, hello, everyone. I am so glad that we actually started off talking about mental health, because from my experience, I've learned that, you go through something, you go through a job, and it's like mental health is always spoken about after the fact, before it's too late, after something crazy happens. And it's like, with my personal experience through COVID and going to school, you never find out what's going on until you're actually in the situation. You don't understand that you're actually struggling until you see what you're going through and you compare it to what you could be going through. Like, COVID in itself was just so crazy. Like, I'm sure everyone can agree. It was crazy for the parents, it was crazy for the children, and mental health affects it on so many levels. Students were disconnected from their friends, from their families. People who had siblings, they couldn't get to their siblings. They can't get a connection with their parents, even while being in the same household. For many, you would think that the household is supposed to be a safe place for the children, but for many people, that was not the case, and they had to be stuck in that situation. And there weren't any options for them because obviously COVID, you can't go outside, you can't interact with people. And dealing with school, my whole thing was like, I love going to school, but I love seeing my friends at school. So when you're at home by yourself, and especially you said that you were an only child, I can only imagine the most contact you had was through social media, and that's it. Like, can you imagine, like, we had to do what we had to do in order to stay safe. We had to do quarantining, but I don't think people realize that that's on the same level as solitary confinement to a degree. And like, isn't that just insane? And we're just expected to deal with that. We're expected to be okay, and we're expected to come back into the school system and act as if it never happened, to continue going as if, you know, it's the same other day, just like last time. And I don't think that should be so. I think we should have had a pause. We should have had like a way to help the children, help the youth, to build those better connections, to get back up on their feet. Because right now we're just going back into school. We just went in blind, you know, just wear your mask, you'll be fine. But what about all the factors that we did not look at? Yeah.
Check 1, 2. Hello, hello. Oh, okay, go. So the drastic challenges facing today's youth would be the lack of motivation, housing, and stress. Since COVID and the enforcement of online learning, which was just thrown at us, one instance, none of my peers during my high school years actually wanted to join class. They made it seem like an option to either join your classes in Microsoft Teams or Zoom calls. They would rather stream on Twitch or watch some shows on Netflix or Hulu, or just scroll through social media all day on a daily basis. Housing has also increased as landowners within an area has began to influx rent, as probably everybody here has seen it. I've witnessed single mothers go through one-bedroom apartments up to 900, and leases increasing like next following year. It's ridiculous. Stress overall has been an important matter regarding these problematic situations, especially with kids' mental health. Schools have began to give notice to it, but it was pretty much very late at that time. Recognizing easy opportunities for the youth has also been difficult, since teens and young adults and kids in general were just not able to have in-person guidance from their guidance counselors or their principal and be reminded of the following opportunities available. I remember I was in 12th grade before I even found out that my own school offered local scholarships, which I was way too late for, but I wish I knew sooner. They literally had a Remind app and a chat where they would categorize it and send it out. Only a few people were in it. Nobody else told us about it, like, really. Those were the problems I came across for this question.
Thank you. Mr. Burrell?
Yes, thank you so much. I think COVID just caused a tremendous tectonic shift. I mean, there was a lot of changes and things that took place from all the way top down. And when you have stress faults, and I think that's what some of the youth are talking about, the stress faults of mental health and making sure that the kids have what they need, the youth have what they need. I got to stop saying kids. But the youth have what they need in that support, because there was tremendous trauma, I think, that took place. And I remember kind of coming back, even doing some of the work with OIC and trying to get some of the youth connected with the internet and trying to do the programs and those type of things online. And it was just tremendously challenging. And I think we lost a lot of youth during that time from those schools and that system that I don't know if we'll be able to recover from that. But I think the lessons that we've learned and the conversations and the dialogue that we're having now, I think we need to really put those things in place, those systems and structures in place that the youth are saying that are necessary. Because I don't know, I think we'll be foolish or naive to think we won't see something like this again. And I think that's what we have to be thinking about, is the preparation and the support system that needs to be in place in case another pandemic happens again. And I think, that's where we're looking at these shifts, and things have been changed, I think, forever, whether it's business, whether it's school and education. A funny side note is that I've been homeschooling my 4 children for many years, and I was kind of like the little weird parent. And it was great to see everybody homeschooling. I was like, yes, welcome, And I remember going to get earphones and different things, and they were all sold out, and it was just amazing. But I think that's the key. It's the options now that have been made available. And I think those type of things that need to be in place that some of the young people are saying, whether it's mental health, whether it's housing and those things, to make sure that if another pandemic happens again, if we have to experience another shift in our society that would put stress on our services and the way in which we're doing things, are we prepared for that? And I think that's what we need to kind of take a lesson as well from the pandemic.
Absolutely. Thank you all. And Nathan, that's a great, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, we're moving on to the next question, right?
Yes.
Yeah, before we move on, I just wanted to, pick up back on what Nivik said earlier. Like, we did talk about mental health, we spoke about housing, and what Mr. Burrell just said, COVID basically highlighted a lot of issues that were already there. And I just wanted to say, these are long-lasting effects of COVID. Like, I don't think we truly took a look or embraced the amount of deaths that we had from COVID. It's not only the elderly people, it's young adults, it's grown-ups, it's children who did pass away due to COVID, and it was thousands and thousands of people. Like, I just had to take a seat one day and just think about how many students, like, we're going back to school, how many people lost a parent, how many people lost an aunt, an uncle, a sister, a sibling, and what they must be going through, their own mental struggle by themselves. And that also has to do with housing. Like, housing has increased incredibly. And there are students who, yes, you lost one parent, what about your other parent? Where are your parents in your life, right? And people don't want to go into some people don't want to go into the system. Some people don't want to be placed anywhere and just being dealt with any which way. And another issue that is really affecting youth is transportation. I personally take the city bus, and I get to where I need to be on time, but you have many youth who don't have accessibility to money to get public transportation, or they don't have access to transportation to get from school to an activity or to even get home. And I feel like we could put in, is this for the next question? Should I say that?
Go ahead.
Okay. I feel like we should have more options for the children, like buses that can actually take students from point A to point B. We need safe, effective options for the youth, and not only for the youth, but for adults too, because it doesn't just affect us, it affects everyone. All right, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So that was a great answer to the next question, which is a segue, that it has posed considerable challenges for children and youth in the areas of education, employment, mental health, economic mobility. So what are the practical actions that we can take to design inclusive and fair recovery measures that leave no one behind? Ms. Fox, would you like to address that?
Thank you. I was just thinking, as an OIC and Newton out there, as OICs, we know the community. And one of the things that the school districts and the cities were remiss is how can you utilize your community partners? The OICs stepped up. I know in New Britain, we advocated where the governor declared that all transportation in Connecticut would be free. And that's going to continue. This is year 2. So that answers the question that people need to get where they can get, and I think that's important. I think the part that bothers me the most is the homes. Landlords kind of turned out in Connecticut because we did not allow them to put people out. If you couldn't pay your rent, you were not put out. The landlords organized in my particular city, and they lost. And they lost because the community partners came together and supported the fact that you already are dealing with the pandemic. You're dealing with issues, loss of jobs, people dying, and that was a lot. And I think that we forget about that people lost family members. But one of the things I like is how the community partners came together. We never closed. OIC, we stayed open. And we worked with the parents. We went into the community, and we called on the clergy. We called on the clergy to provide that needed support, that hope that many of our families lost.
Yes, I would like to touch up on education in this question, because when I was a student attending Dillard, I was part of the magnet program, and they had an entrepreneurship class. And what I've noticed in the entrepreneurship class, there wasn't a lot of girls specifically. There was only probably me and like 2 other girls, maybe 5 if we're lucky. And it was kind of shocking to me that I only found out that only magnet students got the opportunity to have entrepreneurship class. And what youth really need is that, motivation to realize that they have the talents to reach those goals, to own their own businesses. And what I've noticed over the pandemic, a lot of youth have gained the opportunities to branch out themselves and create their own brands and businesses. And who was it? A little boy got sponsored because all he did was his love for toys, and he got like $7 billion from just putting it on YouTube. The media that is out there, we can do so much with social media as youths and branch out ourselves. But if our schools do not allow us the opportunity to have these skills, these hard skills of knowing how to build ourselves up with entrepreneurship, how will youth ever reach it to that milestone that we need?
That's a great point, and it totally gets at equality and access.
So I think there's a saying, never lose the learning in a bad situation, something to that. I'm butchering the saying. But voice and opportunity were what we learned from the pandemic and what we learned needed to be moved forward. Based on what the young people said today, one of the radical things another friend of mine said was, listening is a radical form of social justice. Listening and taking away. What we learned from this experience from our young people is that they wanted options. We need to expand work-based experience outside of traditional fields and incentivize them. That includes employer incentives to be able to support new spaces, new experiences, and new fields, because the jobs of tomorrow do not exist today. So what we are building is options to solve problems for tomorrow. And if we are not incentivizing those things today with employers who think outside the box and give young people opportunities to expand their current space and the box itself, we're doing them a disservice. And secondly, we learned that we have to centralize the voice of those who have been marginalized, women of color, young people, ALICE populations. We have to create solutions that work for those who are taking care of us and for young people who have to take care of us in the future. And that includes everything from paid childcare, making sure that there is affordable early education, making sure that people don't have to worry about where they live and how they're going to survive in order to show up and to thrive in the workforce. We know these are the lived experiences that our young people and women of color really suffered through during the pandemic. And we know when we create pipelines for those who suffer the most, we create pipelines for everyone to be able to walk through.
Absolutely.
To touch up on, actually, good answer, by the way. To touch up on Lariana's answer about social media, I wanted to add on that youth is actually heavily involved with social media. That's where they obtain most of their primary information from, regardless, not even on local news anymore since they don't even use the TV. Besides using the web, I would conclude that gaining the counselor's approval to post on such platforms or extend out to such platforms, including Canva, which is used possibly around the entire US. It's, if everybody knows, Canva is basically what all the online students are using to manage themselves, their work, due dates, the events. And I believe it could be used as a pop-up notice. And once they log in, you can easily get a link where you could get a catalog of all the details or required scholarships, events, as I said once again, available. It's easily color coordinated so they wouldn't get confused with it. It's instant, and they wouldn't have to like browse through multiple websites at once just to like apply for that one scholarship or do research to actually find out how to apply for it. It's easily guided. Another could be using a Remind app, Google Docs, or Google Spreadsheet that could just directly to the link. Yeah. Thank you.
Very good answer. Well, Shannon, I've been on this soapbox for the last 22 years, and I can't believe I'm going to say this as an entrepreneur, is that I think we need to take the shine and the glory off of entrepreneurship. For some reason, we've kind of, made it this offshoot thing and kind of glorified it. But I think when you talk about strategies, I think having the entrepreneurial mindset and teaching that as early as possible, allowing whether it's women or boys or young men to go through an entrepreneurial mindset training, whereas they can now be able to have vision and be able to put plans and things together to solve problems and challenges. And I think the mindset of entrepreneurship kind of needs to be a part of some kind of educational process where every student is exposed to that. I think the soft skills that we heard in the last panel, those things that are all incorporated in entrepreneurship, whether you become a CEO or start your own business or not, if you get a job, I would want the person who can think like an entrepreneur to be, I think, would be a more effective and efficient worker. So I think one of the strategies and what we've been trying to incorporate for years is trying to get entrepreneurship as part as a curriculum that is just given and not necessarily put as an offshoot, as an option. I think if small businesses create the jobs that we're talking about, then we need to have as many entrepreneurial thinkers out there and equipped as possible.
Okay.
I think.
Well, the next, go ahead, Christina.
So sorry. As stated before, from COVID, we did have a big disconnect with our students, within their families, with their teachers, and coming back to school. And it's not only a disconnect between the students and the teachers, it's also a disconnect between the teachers and what they are teaching. One thing that's just been said for many years is that teachers are not being paid enough. And you think, livable wage, minimum wage is not livable wage, and we need to have a livable wage. Yeah, thank you. Just a few weeks ago, I learned that our minimum wage is $10. Like Nivik said earlier, you have like a small bedroom apartment for $900. I know that there are landlords who want you to be able to make 3 times what your salary is so that you are able to actually afford your housing. And that's just not okay. Like, just think of our teachers. Their salary, they have to use it for their classrooms, they have to use it for their housing, they have to use it for their children. So many things that this like amount that they're receiving is just not sufficing. I have teachers, and I just want to say thank you to my teachers that I've experienced through my life, because coming back from COVID, I got to meet some of the most helpful and lovable people. And since we had that time to reflect through our quarantining, I think a lot of people like took off that label, oh, I'm just a student, oh, I'm just a teacher. No, we are all people. We like got down to that baseline that we all do have feelings, we all do have emotions that we need to tap into in order to relate to each other. But yes, I would love for my teachers to be paid a little bit more, because they are the blueprint. They are helping us to be the next adults. And they're just like one of the most important people out there. One of the most important jobs is to teach. How I learned to read, how I learned to write, how I learned to speak. I got that from a teacher. I got that from someone who taught me, and it's not just teachers. All of you in this room are teachers. You've taught somebody. You've probably taught the person sitting next to you, you know? So I would love, we need to pay the teachers more. I'm just gonna say it again. Yeah. Another practical action that we can do is simply promoting the opportunities that are available. Opportunities are not handed to you. Opportunities are not just like, hey, but they're out there. They're simply out there. I don't know where this is being broadcasted, but I would just love to tell the youth, opportunities are literally flying around in midair. You have to be able to take advantage of them. You have to go out there and seek them. You have to go out and get it, Like, you just have to, sorry, all right, can you go to the next question?
That active mindset. No, absolutely.
When are you running for
That's the
office?
same skill set.
When are you running for the office?
It's a lot of work.
We're gonna get you there. So that active mindset that you're talking about, that entrepreneurial skill set, leads us to the next question. When you talk to teens about their future, so many of them say they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to own their own business. And we know, especially since COVID, we have youth even in this community who make 6- and 7-figure incomes on social media while they're going to school. So in preparing youth for entrepreneurship, what type of technical and transferable skills do youth need? And how can we develop and hone in on those skills to put them on a successful path? And Nathan, I'm going to since that's your wheelhouse, I'm going to let you take that one first.
Wow. It's so many. I guess I'll go back to the mindset. Again, she just talked about how the ideas are out there. So I think taking what's available and begin to give youth the opportunity to see what they can do with it. One of the things what I found when we did the Honey Project, that it was entirely youth-led. In fact, every trainer was literally called a consultant. So we didn't necessarily have teachers or any of those type of things. We had consultants. And it was entirely up to the youth as far as the ideas and the concepts they came up with. And the actual company that they created sold honey from Africa, is where we got the honey from. And they were in charge of that. And we literally gave them stock certificates and all those type of things as part of the corporation. But what I found is that, many times when we think about doing entrepreneurship for youth, it was used to be, and I think we're getting past that now because of social media, but it used to be a pastime to keep them busy and keep them out of trouble. And I think what needs to happen is serious incubators, serious support and networks for youth to be able to get connected to capital, get connected to the resources, whether they need to build a board, and those to come along to help those businesses thrive, especially in the beginning. So I think, providing those types of environment, if you will, to make sure that when they have an idea, they have a concept, we could bridge those gaps, if you will, to help those young people move those businesses into fruition and from just idea, concept to actually thriving businesses. So it's one of those things I think we could do.
Absolutely. Ms. Royce?
So to build on that, so I completed an MBA a few years ago, and I was surprised sitting in that MBA class that there were medical students in my MBA class. And what I learned was that they were horrible business people. And so they took the MBA, some of them, in order to learn how to run their offices and to be good business people. I think young people have a ton of ideas and have proven to us that they can turn this thing on a dime. Where practical project management, learning how to judge, is your business doing okay, or what supports you need in order to say, because the other thing about entrepreneurs is they're often serial entrepreneurs. They start an idea, they scrub it, they live it through the lifespan, they sell it, they go on to something else, they withdraw, they jump back in. And we haven't demystified some of that around entrepreneurship. And we need to demystify the business skills, the hardship. I had one professor who said, if you're not eating hot rice and ketchup because you want your idea to thrive, you haven't done it yet. Yes. It is very difficult to be an entrepreneur. So they see the glitz and the glory on social, and we think it's all a bed of roses. So again, the hard skills of scrubbing the experience, understanding how hard it will take, being surrounded by a community of other entrepreneurs that can tell you the truth, being able to project manage and understand what those milestones should look like and how to move through it, I think are essential pieces to that entrepreneurial mindset. Thank you.
Yes, just like Mr. Burrow's Honey Project, I'm reminded of the Youth Leadership Council, how there are so much programs that we had. Like, one that really made me be able to shine brighter was Toastmasters, that was introduced to us. Because of the pandemic, a lot of youth have lost their social skills to speak out and to actually talk inside of a loud audience like this. Thank you, but because of Toastmasters, I've become more comfortable into talking into a large crowd of people and be able to keep eye contact. And with those soft skills, because talking is a soft skill, learning how to talk and be able to speak is a soft skill that every child needs to learn, every person needs to learn. And because of YLC, every youth had the opportunity to grow and shine brighter because of that. And what else that I've also noticed with YLC, if you guys noticed the video that was playing before our CEO came up stage, it was all those kids that were outside who were just saying, YLC. That was when the pandemic was slowly fading. All of the youth were able to finally meet each other and see each other's faces for the first time after the pandemic. And it was so a joyous moment to see everyone's face and how happy they were because we were able to get out of our comfort zone. And another thing, I don't know when I watched this video or heard it. I was listening in, and a Steve Harvey video popped up about you need to get out of your comfort zone. Because in order for you to strive and have success, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you are uncomfortable in certain situations like this, how will you be able to make it to that next step? How will you be able to elevate, really, if you're not out there? Yeah. If you're just in your personal bubble, minding your business, like those opportunities that are just flying everywhere, you're just gonna miss them. No one will be ever to be able to make it or grab those opportunities that are just flying around. So like Steve Harvey said, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right.
I just want to, I like that. I just want to make a comment, and maybe I'm probably, in fact, I know I am the oldest one on stage, but entrepreneur is nothing new to black and brown people. If you look at your history, so we got to teach our young people our history. We've always had a business, whether legal or illegal, but we always have been entrepreneurs. And I think in the last 15 years in the educational system, we've been teaching to the test. What test? And if we don't turn things around and begin to expose our young people to the ice cream man who makes his own ice cream, who the lady who can cornrow, that's a business. You can make money. I think we got to get back to our roots, and that's going to come through our history. Madam C. Walker, okay, we've got some people out there that have always showed our youth that you can be an entrepreneur. I think our youth have not had the opportunity. This year in summer youth employment in Connecticut, every youth had to create a business, and they got paid. We need to continue that process, and that's what we're going to be advocating for in Connecticut, for year-round employment, and have them focus in on entrepreneurships.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Ms. Fox, like, geez, I am in love with your words right now. Connecting with our history is so important, and that was actually going to lead into something I wanted to say that I didn't really know how to fit in with the question. So it has come to my attention that it was signed to take out or prohibit the critical race theory, CRT, in our curriculum. And that would put like a hush mode on history teachers telling us about certain things, because I guess the goal was so that people were not just claimed to feel guilty. Like there wasn't supposed to be a bias to divide the youth, whether it's just black and white or Asians or brown-skinned people. They didn't want to divide. And as I understand that, I do feel like taking away from a specific race is not going to help. That is not fundamental to our education, and that is not fundamental to our futures, as we are the youth that is getting that education. It's just very insane to think how our education and the education coming up for the younger youth is going to look so different from many of you in the room. And although the damage may already be done, it's already signed, I feel like we need to take it back. I feel we need to have that education. We need to go further, deeper into such curriculum so we can actually understand where we stand. With personal experience, there was a time where I did not really feel connected to my African American heritage because I didn't know much about it. Like, you hear the baseline in school, oh, there was slavery, there was 400 years, and not that it's sugar-coated, it's just so vague. You hear the same thing each and every time. You hear another person I'm sorry, I don't want to use such vulgar language, but like, another person passed due to police brutality or another instance, and it's just back to back. Even in quarantine, it was back to back. Each and every day, there was another situation on the news, and we're told, oh, watch the news, but like sometimes you just want to shut it off because you can't stand to see people that look like you keep going down and under. But yeah, I just really wanted to make that a point. Yeah.
Thank you.
And, you know, to actually answer the question, programs, I just feel like programs should be advertised more. You know, you don't know about something until you know. You can't do anything until you actually have the resources and information to do things. You know, people ask me, oh, how did you get here? Why am I on stage right now? It's because I found like different segues. I was introduced to different things. I saw an advertisement. It was advertised, you know? So apps such as Nivik said earlier, apps like Remind. When I was in middle school, they had Remind and they used it to alert us as to which buses are here so you wouldn't miss your bus. You know, different apps like that. You know, Remind is only one app. You know, we need more. We need more. There's just so many people, and we need more resources and more programs to be advertised so that youth can find different ways to get to different places. And also, oh yeah, this is something, yeah, okay, let me take this real quick. We need to talk about college. We need to have a way that students have access to like a college counselor. But you know, some people just can't afford it. Some people cannot find it. And colleges seem to be such a big and important thing. So we need to have more accessibility to that. College is expensive and we need resources. And it's hard to go into, oh, I want to go to college. I want to do something with my life, but you don't have a guide. I know you don't want us to, you know, have our hand held the entire time through, but it's not about that. It's about, like, you have the experience and you have the knowledge, so help me to get there. And Miss Royce, if you would, like, you know, tap into that, because I feel you might have something to say.
Say that one more time. The last part, I didn't hear you echo. If I could tap into that because?
Yeah, because you have a son, correct?
I have a son and a daughter.
So
Yes,
college
going into
access
college.
coaching.
Access to college and coaching?
Yes.
As speak on it or work on it?
If you have anything to speak on it, we do need to work on it, yes.
I think you just put me to task, right? Work on it.
Don't mean to put you on blast.
It's all right, put me on blast. That's what you're here for, accountability. And that's what we do. So I want to give him some airtime. So we're gonna thank you for tasking me. I got you.
I believe our panelists talked about resources. At Dillard High School, there's plenty of ways you can like get certifications and join programs. I joined a robotics program, got my AutoCAD invented certification. I joined videography for 4 years, got my Adobe Premiere Pro certification, got my Microsoft Premiere Pro certification twice. The point is to get out there and reach, get all the extra skills. You don't, like, soft skills and technical skills, that's good, but that's not what business are looking for. And sometimes the school is actually offering, you know, the chances to get it, but students don't know or students aren't trying to. But with the start of entrepreneurship, it starts with creativity. When beginning a business, engage it. My siblings and I would create our own games. Has anyone ever made a kite with like a strings, bundled up pasta, a bag, and like a piece of wood? Like I did.
You said pasta?
It isn't limited to like games. It's also like activities such as bridge building, right? Just to engage youth to think out the box. Regarding technical or transferable skills, confidence, public speaking, and improvisation is the empowering role in production and releasing the product or service. A survey can be used to find the strong suits of individuals, which I was placed in my entrepreneurship class, which Lariana talked about. I was placed in the sales and marketing division where I was there for early video production and my creativity. We split into divisions, proceeded by applying small tasks to the management or the product. Management of the product or service, correction. Reassuredly with guidance. We had a teacher, Ms. Tobias, I believe. Ms. Tobias? Yeah, okay, yeah, she's a very amazing teacher. I love that fact that we were able to join Junior Achievement because of it. We won locals, I think, two times. We made it to now 7 news for our product. what else was there that's extravagant? Like, I'm pretty sure I could brag. Like, hold on.
By the way, I'm offering to manage these youth, and we'll be having a bidding war later if you would like to employ them.
With that, we made it to finals. So unfortunately, we lost to Stoneman Douglas that year, but now with my actual skills, I'm just gonna work on the product myself since I have a couple ideas that I could work with using Adobe AutoCAD Inventor. So I learned how to convey feelings into storyboarding and merchandising products or service. And now here I am working with OIC of South Florida. And I used the internship money from last year to purchase my own laptop to continue working as a videographer where I got employed this year. So it's just to show that you need to get those skills out there, to be honest. And
Thank you, David.
Let me just
I
add
don't know.
that,
Yeah, that's about it to wrap it up. Thank you.
I will add that Florida Atlantic University won't know what hit them next spring when NIVIC arrives. We're pretty much out of time, but I wanted to give each panelist one last moment because this morning we saw funders. We saw some of our funders. And this is your opportunity to ask, or for us to ask, if we were going to invest money in communities, and we know that the Good Jobs, Build Back Better, the American Rescue Plan, there's specific funds in there to support student success. If we were going to invest money in communities to help young people, where should we spend it? Where is that urgent imperative? And whoever wants to start, just be brief, and we'll end it there. Thank you.
You should give it to the OICs and let us do our thing. Don't put a time frame on it like the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. All of the funding sources seem to have times, and I understand times because you got to collect data. But give us the money. We have the expertise. We've been doing this, helping people to help themselves for over 55 years, and we want to continue to do that. We just need the resources. Give us the money.
Mariana?
Yes, I love this question very much because it touches on what my career path is. My career path really is to not only be an entrepreneur, but help my community, especially young girls, with technology. We did an interview not too long ago, and she asked me about what my career path was and why I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I was sat down in front of a computer from a very young age, and I love technology because of it. And I want younger kids to know about this. So if I ever had that money to sponsor something, I would want to sponsor the younger generation to realize that they have these opportunities, that they don't have to sit at home just looking at their phones, looking at social media, scrolling through TikTok, knowing that they can be the biggest thing on earth. They can change the world with their creativity, with the skills and the certifications that they can get, because with their minds, they can do whatever. When I was an intern at the YMCA, I was surrounded by all these smart kids. They had so much they wanted to tell me, and they had so much big dreams. And I want to be the reason why they have it. That is just everything to me.
My first thoughts goes into the programs and organizations that put their attention into the youth with their education and providing the opportunities available. Programs such as helping to fight against affordable housing or give the youth a chance to learn and improve and gain technical or actual skills and certifications. It has done so much for me. I've built connections, gained opportunities, made close relations, and grew overall as an individual. When I was with YLC during meetings, there was no impeding silence of a classroom during exams. It felt more of a small family in a way. I don't know if I'm over-exaggerating, but everybody was so friendly and interactive. I didn't have any concern for myself of making myself embarrassed since everybody was pretty accepting. I'll wrap it up concluding that these programs are what changed me, and given the chances, I would remain with these programs. Urban League of Broward County, YMCA, and OIC of South Florida, which has helped me become who I am today. And I want nothing more but to drag my close friends and family into the program to help them out as well.
I'll jump in. So you could have the last word over there. Running for office soon. I've always believed that technology as a tool for economic development. I think the funding and those types of concepts and ideas need to be really looked at. That, for example, I think the opportunity now it's blockchain, not cryptocurrency, but blockchain as a technology, and that has to be, the young people need to know about that. The way it decentralizes so many different things, whether it's finances, whether it's all these resources they're talking about, the blockchain is a technology. So I think technology needs to be a focus, and I'll say something, throw a word out there, social entrepreneurship. So that's what it sounds like. It's being bantered around today. So social entrepreneurship as well.
I'll give you the last word. And just echoing what we've already heard, increasing access, making sure that we are funding the programs at work, removing the barriers to access, and making sure that we are allowing young people to participate in an increasingly digitized world. We keep talking about technology, but that's not just teaching them, it's teaching us how to teach them.
Yes.
I have a little something to say. Yes, I think we should channel this money through programs such as OIC, because when I tell you, being in this program, going through, they just take care of us. I'm telling you, they really do take care of the youth. They provide us with transportation. We just did the Youth Leadership Academy at Broward College, and they literally took care of every little inconvenience. You want water, there was cold water. You want a snack, there was snacks. They provided breakfast, lunch, it's just like every little thing that you could think of, they really took care of us, and we were completely comfortable. And they just took care of, I believe, around 40 to 50 students. And I'm telling you, that is a big thing, and you need funding and money to do something and carry something out like that. Such as we said earlier, programs that do support college preparation, resume preparation, interview preparation, which OIC did take care of early in the year as well, And I did look at this question. I basically broke it down as, if I had a grant, what would I do with it? I would put feminine products in schools. I know we did have a feminine sanitary products shortage, but I feel like in every single school across Broward County, worldwide, there should be those products in the buildings. And put them in female and male bathrooms, non-binary bathrooms, because we have an array of different types of people in this world. And yeah, there's always a little loophole. Someone's like, oh, you can't do that. Yes, you can. And yes, as we are growing adults, you want us to be responsible, carry your own things, but things do happen. And you can link it to our 06 numbers. We could check them out. So just stuff like that. I feel like those are actual ideas that can be executed. And my last one is having parks and recreational facilities for the youth to actually go out and enjoy and be feeling welcome in their communities. There's 3 different parks in my neighborhood, and one is probably just a fitness park. This park is closed after schools. They don't want students in this park. And I feel like if you're going to say that there's a time and place for everything, the things that you frown upon, such as, oh, no skateboarding in school, no rollerblades, have a place for us to do that. Have a place for students to actually go outside and want to go outside and enjoy themselves. So that's where I would put my money if I had it.
Thank you. So we've gone over, but please give everyone on this panel a round of applause. Thank you so much.